Good morning, YouTube. This is GTN Rider coming in from Bengaluru. So I've been getting a lot of requests from the folks to do a full-blown review of my bike. If you've seen my Z800 impressions video or the Benelli, I've mentioned that I really don't do reviews, and it's primarily just the impressions, because all the flaws are not immediately noticed in your first couple of rides. So you have to live with the bike day in, day out, see what the bike is all about, how reliable it can be, what are its niggling problems, what is it good at, the serviceability and everything. So I always believe that to review a bike, you have to spend time on the saddle. Having spent a little over a year on the bike, covered close to 10,000 kilometers, that entitles me to a proper review. So here's my review of the GT650 Naked that I use every single day. So I'll try and cover as much topics about the bike as possible. I'll probably break it down into two parts. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let me start off with the good things, because I can go through them pretty quick. There's not many. First things first, the best part about the bike, as I said before, is that engine. It's a 647cc, 73 horses, 61 Newton meters torque, V-twin, dual overhead cams. It's a beast. I mean, it's got a lot of torque on the low and the mid-range, and it's a short stroke V-twin, unlike the long stroke versions that we are used to seeing on Harleys and other bikes. So being a short stroke V-twin, this thing revs quite high as well for a V-twin. So don't be mistaken with the lazy growl on this thing, because this thing can rev pretty high. I tried to do a mix and match of good and the bad, so I don't have a set agenda. I don't have a script that I can read off of. So I'm just going to go by the points as and when it appears in my mind. So less gear shifts is a good thing on a Hyosung, because the clutch is heavy as shit. It's really, really heavy. As heavy as, I don't know how to say. Let's just say my left forearm is a lot bigger than my right. And I'm right-handed, so... And I personally feel that the engine and the gearbox is let down by the fueling on this thing. This is by no means a technologically advanced bike. It's pretty crude. It's got mechanical linkages that actuate the throttle bodies. It's a pretty simplistic, pure way of doing things, like you can almost say old school way of controlling the two cylinders with a single throttle cable. So it's got, except for an ECU, this thing's got pretty much no electronic aid / anything. As I said, the fueling on this thing is pretty bad, especially at slow speeds, because the throttle modulation on this thing is something that you got to get used to over a period of time, because it's okay, it kind of settles down on higher revs, but at low revs it's more like you're it's a hit or a miss kind of a thing, where you're kind of easing into the throttle to get the right amount of get up and go, So the throttle modulation on this is something that you will have to get used to, and quite frankly that will put off a lot of people initially. Once you get past that, or once you get used to the modulation, it's a quite enjoyable ride. For me, I kind of like this now. But yeah, I can understand it if you initially ride the bike and don't like the low speed rideability of this thing. I won't be surprised, but give it some time, let it grow on you, and you will definitely enjoy it. Come on, woman. For God's sake, man. So, I really don't like all the mechanical bits being covered up under the fairing, and I'd like to see all the machineries, all the mechanical components of the bike. So, a naked was an obvious choice for me. It's one thing that if I have to change about this bike, it would be the fueling. I mean, two things. It would be the fueling and the design of that bloody headlight. So, except for the headlight, I really like the looks of the bike. I love its stance and the way it sits, the way it looks going down the road. So, looks for me is a definite positive thing about the bike. Although it could be subjective, some people don't like the looks of this. They prefer the faired version. They prefer the faired version to this. Of course, the faired version looks fantastic, by the way. I mean, I have no qualms about people who like faired bikes. Good for you, sir. But as I said, being a mechanical engineer, I love my bikes naked. Another good thing about this bike is being a big lump, twin cylinder, big displacement bike, it's got plenty of engine braking. And to just really understand the amount of engine braking, you just have to ride this thing, and you have to downshift and see the amount of braking you get. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like another brake on the bike, and I use the engine braking as so much that I depend more on the engine braking and the front brakes than the usual front and rear brake setup. Rear brake I just used to kind of bring the back end in check, back in line. But primarily all my brakings are done with my engine braking and then the front brakes, which is kind of confidence inspiring. To the contrary, what people think, you don't use your rear brake, oh my god. But guys, you gotta use your engine braking, man. It's a more safe way to bring the bike to a controlled stop, in my opinion. I'll try to clear up a common misconceptions about Hyosungs. They're always perceived to be of cheap quality. They're not as reliable. So I've heard all kinds of stuff about Hyosungs. Although I do agree or concede to the point that they're not really the best built bikes out there. You're also not paying as much, man. I mean, I agree it's not the best, but you can definitely live with it. It's not so bad that you see that quick overtakes, no downshifts. Anyway, so like I was saying, the reliability, I guess, mainly depends on the kind of rider you are and how you take care of your bikes. Like I said, I've spent more than a year on this thing, and I've put on close to 10,000 kilometers on this thing, and this bike has never given up on me, except for a time when I had to put it on storage, and the battery kind of went bad, or it wouldn't charge, and I've done some serious bit of riding on this thing. Good roads, bad roads, low roads, and to be honest, I kind of take care of the bikes quite well. I get the bike serviced regularly, every 4,000, 5,000 kilometers. I regularly wash and clean the bike, I maintain the chain, the regular bits, and that's all I've done to them. I've not done anything beyond what you're supposed to do when you buy a bike, I put on more kilometers on this thing than most riders who buy such bikes do over a period of, let's say, 2 to 3 years, because they primarily use it only for weekend rides. And I ride this thing every day to work and in stop-go traffic and all that. So Hyosung's unreliable. I don't buy it for a second. But are there any niggling issues with the bike? Yes, there is one, and that's the rectifier going bad all the time. It doesn't matter how well you take care of the bike, but the rectifier always goes bad, and that's primarily, not entirely, the you cannot blame quality issues for it, because it's primarily, I believe, it's got to do with the location of the rectifier on the bike. What happens in your conventional V-twins like your Harleys and Hyosungs, the Ducatis and the like, is that the front cylinder gets a lot more air for cooling the cylinder than the rear one, because the rear one's buried beneath all the chassis, the tank, the seat, the electrical harnesses and whatnot. So it doesn't get enough airflow on this thing, on the rear cylinder, as the front, and as a result the rear cylinder runs a little bit hotter than the front. And the problem is only amplified on a Hyosung, because the rectifier that's responsible to charge the electrical systems and the batteries and all that stuff is right behind the rear cylinder and in close proximity. So the rear cylinder is getting hotter, and the proximity of this rectifier to the rear cylinder only makes the matters worse, and as a result, over a period of time, the rectifier fails and you start developing all these electrical faults that most riders or most Hyosung owners complain about. So that is probably the only niggling feature on a Hyosung, and it's also an important feature, because the rectifier doesn't charge the battery, then your electrical systems that run the bike starts kind of behaving weird, and then you get uneven firing on your cylinders because you're not generating enough electrical current for the spark plugs. Dumb fuck. What a dumbass. So you open up a big can of worms when the rectifier goes bad. So that is one thing that Hyosung owners will have to live with at the moment. Although the new rectifiers, I'm told, last a little longer than the older ones, the older generation, I mean. So you could probably, if you think that your electrical system is behaving weird on your Hyosung, you might want to get it replaced under warranty. So what else can I think of? Goes fast. This is a genuine 200 plus kilometers per hour machine. Does it quite easily as well. It's got excellent acceleration. I can smoke any Benelli, stock or with an aftermarket exhaust or whatever. I can smoke it any day, because things got so much torque, coming much lower. The switchgear quality overall is also pretty good. Definitely better than the 600 Benellis, and not probably in the league of the Kawasaki's and the other brands, other 600s like the Triumphs and stuff. They're in a different league altogether, but for the price you pay, this thing's got better switchgear quality than the Benelli 600s. And the best part about this thing is the price. This thing costs you 4,80,000 on road with the iXile exhaust that I have on this thing. If you don't want the exhaust, you can get this thing on road for about 4.7, 4.6, something like that lakhs on road. So for me, this is the best bargain 650 in the market. Of course, the GT650N is a better overall package, but it just doesn't feel or look or sound. Okay, maybe the looks it does, but the feel and the sound of the 650 GT650N is, I don't know, man. It just doesn't sound right to me. That's how a 650 should sound like, you know. I'm about to reach the office now. I will probably continue this vlog a little later once I'm done with work. But listen to the sound, guys. That's how a 650 middleweight superbike should sound like. So I just finished up with work. The heat dissipation on this thing is quite good. Of course, it's a naked, so you definitely have better airflow around the engine. In bumper to bumper stop go traffic, it still gets really hot, uncomfortably hot actually, and the clutch, you know, kind of fades away because of the excessive heat and usage of the clutch. But slow moving traffic, the cooling is pretty good, the heat dissipation is, you know, excellent, and the clutch also does not pose any problems. But if you're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic and you're constantly using your clutch, you will lose it. You will lose the clutch quite rapidly. So it's kind of expected of a big bike with a lot of torque. So now the good point would be on the bike is, especially if you're a tall rider, the riding position is excellent. It's a right balance between full out sporty position and a little bit of upright riding. So it's neither too lean forward nor too laid back. And I kind of like that on this bike. I'm almost 5 foot. Yeah, I'm about 5'11". So the riding position is exactly right for my liking on this bike. This thing's got pretty decent acceleration too, so I will show you right now. So it's quite flickable, as you can see in traffic. You're not really going to be stuck. Whoa, idiot, dumbass. The sales and service of the bike in Bangalore is also not too bad. There's only one dealership / service center in Bangalore. They are working really hard to make sure that the customers stay happy. I mean, all this while I was still relatively a new customer to them because it's only been a year and I was still under warranty. So that kind of explains why they could be being nice. I'll have to see how it goes when I'm out of the warranty period and that's the showroom right there. So if you want to know something more about the bike, anything specific that I haven't covered, which is quite likely because I've just been trying to do a random vlog about the ownership. So if you have any questions, anything particular that you want to ask me about the bike, go ahead, leave me a comment in the comment section below and I will try to answer them as much as I can. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you click on the notification tab so that you know that I put up a video. You will know when I put up a video. And thanks for watching. This is GTN Rider signing off.